Hi and welcome back to Sports Covering. In today's episode of Ladies in the Lead, I'll be speaking with Aparajita Upadhyay, one of my old friends and a sports journalist working with PTI since over 7 years now. Let's find out from Aparajita how her journey has been so far like. Hi Aparajita, thank you so much for joining us today. How are you?
I'm very well. Thank you so much for inviting me here.
Rajita, I know you personally, so I know that you've grown up watching a lot of sport. But before you entered the industry officially, you were studying something else. You wanted to pursue a different career, right? So when did that switch in your mind happen? कि मेरे को नहीं करना ये और मेरे को जर्नलिज्म में जाना है, मेरे को स्पोर्ट्स में कुछ करियर बनाना है.
बचपन से ना I used to watch all this sports because my dad and my brother, elder brother, they were very much into sports. So बचपन में कार्टून देखने को उतना मिलता नहीं था मेरे घर में. Like the memories that I have are Sunday के like my dad used to smoke. So cigarette smell and test match going on. किसी का भी test match है. So that's the memory that I've grown up with. फिर उसके बाद I was like fascinated with journalism, but then I gave a couple of entrants. So I wanted LSR, I didn't get into it. So I liked history, so I took admission in history. And then since I had done my graduation in history, I thought कि अब चलो masters कर लेते हैं. But after I did my masters, last semester was dissertation, and we had to write a paper and all, and research work and stuff. So after I finished that research work, I realized that भाई PhD MPhil मुझे नहीं करना है. It's like not what I want to do. And I was like really into sports. I used to watch it and all, and I wanted to watch everything. कुछ भी हो रहा है तो मुझे देखना. उस समय ISL was like the new thing. तो ISL भी जाके देखना है. I remember 2010 में जब Commonwealth Games हुए थे, तो एक that was our first year in college. तो एक महीने का हमें ऐसी मुफ्त में छुट्टी दे दी थी. So I didn't know what to do. So I stood in line at Nehru Place, Central Bank के line में, for I guess like 1.5 hours just to buy one hockey ka ticket to go and watch the match. So I was really into it. And then when I finished my dissertation and all, I had a friend whose brother was studying in IIMC, and he was like, "Why don't you give it a shot?" Types, and मेरे दिमाग में like journalism had become like a fantasy कि oh हाँ ऐसा career होता है वो सब. So I just very casually filled in the entrance and all. Like the day I was going, my parents asked me कहाँ जा रही हो, so I said oh ऐसी entrance देने जा रही हूँ. My friends didn't know about it. I had a trip to Germany planned with one of my friends, and then I cleared the entrance, and then interview भी clear हो गया somehow, and I was like, okay, fine. So this is what I'm doing. I had to cancel all the trip, and all people were very pissed with me, and I had to get up and leave for Jammu. So that was it. That's how I got into this. And then main aim was like, कि journalism मतलब sports journalism. I have to get into sports. So even when like classes and all, I was like हाँ ठीक है, but I was like very की sports type, and उतना कुछ था नहीं. Sports journalism पढ़ाते नहीं हैं. So it was kind of like कि हाँ ठीक है, चलो जो भी है मिल लो. Then I remember going to some random sports gym जो जम्मू में खुला था. So that was how I got into it. Yeah.
And Aparajita is amongst the few people who got into PTI, which was and still is a big deal. And not a lot of people can, associate themselves with the organization. It's so prestigious. You got into PTI initially. You were not working in the sports desk. It took you a while to, start covering sports. What was the transition like? And of course, in your mind, things were different. Okay, sports journalism, you romanticized it, right? Growing up in your mind, you wanted to really do this. So, what was the reality like for you?
It was pretty bad because I had got into a website which was pura sports, and I had said no to it. There's like this lot of dilemma that I had to go through. Everyone was like,
I remember that also.
you should do PTI is like this and that, and like all my teachers, my parents, even like a lot of my friends were saying that this is the career that you should do and all. So I was like, chalo, theek hai, let's do that. So when I joined PTI, I joined as a trainee. So what they do in PTI is like you go into different departments and you work there for like a week or 2 weeks and all. But my thing was pretty set. I was like, sports to karna hi hai. So I obviously got really friendly with the sports department, and they're like a really good bunch of people, really nice and kind. So I got along with them. वो होता है ना कि मतलब you've known them for so long, types वाली feeling I घर like, and you immediately I gelled with them. But I was not in sports. So I would say, if there is some assignment and all, so I would take up assignments after my shift. like doing an 8 hour shift, and uske baad I would go for assignments and all. So briefly, I was doing political nation desk and all of that. And at one time, I really was like so done with it. I thought I would not continue in PTI. I would quit. But thankfully, उस समय I got into sports, and then I was there for like a temporary basis, but then वो permanent हो गया. So it worked out in my favor, and I've not looked back since. And I've really enjoyed my time there, and I'm still enjoying it. I love the work.
Raja, you are amongst those few privileged people who go to watch matches, not just in India, in other countries as well. What's the experience been like to watch and cover matches? Has it taken away the fun from the sport? Because, when you're covering a sport, you have to, of course, be present in a different way. You have to make sure that, statistically you are aware of what's happening. So, how has it affected the fan in you?
Yeah, so when you're covering a match, you cannot be a fan. You absolutely cannot. Because then also working in an agency, we have to, as soon as the match finishes, we have to file in our report, like within 5 minutes or something. So we cannot watch the match like a fan. You have to be on it. You need to know all the stats. If someone's making this many runs or whatever, if it's a boxing bout khatam hua, every like 3 minutes bout ke baad, you have to have what you have to write and all. So if you want to watch it as a fan, don't be on the shift. Just watch it. Otherwise, if you're working on it, you're not allowed to have sentiments. Like you can't be like, oh shit, this person is lost, I'm sad. And while writing also, that is very important. You cannot get your biases in it. So because it's an agency, so it has to be really neutral. You cannot put in your point of view. It all has to be facts. So yeah, the fan in you dies a little, and also because of the amount of work that you have. Like cricket goes on 365 days a year, so you're just like so done because you're doing everything, absolutely everything, and you're like, oh god, there's so much happening. So the fan in you like dies a little bit then. But yeah, still enjoy it.
Yeah, and there's also no scope of error because the work that you guys create is then taken up by other organizations. So, can you tell us what the difference is like working for an agency and working for any other news platform, perhaps?
So I've always worked in an agency, so I don't really know, but I can tell you from the experiences that I talk to my colleagues and all. So in an agency, we like to say like we're like water. We don't have anything. Like if you're writing for a paper, you can add like ruafza in it or squash in it and give a flavor to it. But in beta, it's like quotes and facts and all that can be authenticated. So that is why people subscribe to us because we do not have any biases and all, and it's all factual, and we're not making anything up. Whereas in newspapers and all, you can have opinion pieces, you can be more analytic, but it's just more opinions and all. So in that sense, it's very different from PTI. And also in newspapers and all, you have a lot of time to write it. If a match is ending at 8 o'clock and your paper deadline is 12, you still have 4 hours to write it. But for us, if a match is ending at 8, we have to file the report by maximum 8:10. So we don't have that much time. So we're not going into like we might have an analytical piece like the next day or something, we what went wrong and all, but on that day it will be all about the report and what is happening on the ground. So that way it's different. And we are always there like, reporting from the ground. So that is the thing.
And now you've spent over 7 years in the industry. What has the experience been like as a woman, per se? Because, of course, things have changed in the last couple of years. A lot of other, women journalists are coming up. The space is becoming more gender neutral. There's a long way for us to go, but things have improved. And you have firsthand witnessed the transition. So, talk to us about that.
It's because the space has definitely changed. The sports, they're getting more footage, I would say. Like you have the women's Premier League and everything. You have the football you already had, but now they're showing it. There is more coverage and everything. And as far as the reporting part is concerned, it you see more women journalists, you see more content writers over there giving their perspective, writing more on women's sports. So that ways it has definitely changed for the better, I would say, because I know like a lot of people, like my seniors, they talk to me and they're like, you see, we used to be like the press box used to be just males and now they're females. So the other day we were covering the Chennai versus Delhi match in the IPL. And jab khatam hua tab tak there were only 3 women in the press box left. So that was probably the first time there were 3 women there and there was no male. So you see people coming up. पहले भी थे, it's not like they weren't there, but they were obviously less. But now women are taking up this opportunity. They feel like, oh, they're seeing bylines and they're seeing people doing it, so they also feel that yes, we can do it. And while reporting, it's largely my thing has been really nice, like with all the officials and all. एक दो cases होते हैं, because they're coming from villages and all. So some comment here and that is obviously there, but I think it's going to change. But I feel like till now, all the players, athletes, they've been really respectful. So that is one thing that I did not expect that much, but they've been really nice.
But a lot of people think that, when women write about women and their stories, there's a lot of emotion that goes into it, and they can, since they empathize, they can put out a better picture. So, as a journalist who writes stories, or of course, as you said, in an agency, there are limitations, but still, you can look at things that maybe a man can overlook. What has that been like?
Yeah, it's been nice, especially because we've got the freedom to do that. Because I remember when Mirabai Chanu won her silver medal at Tokyo, so she had a lot of cramps. So she was not wanting to tell anyone. But later on, we reported about it. So then it came out, and then people highlighted it, and it was taken in a really like as it should be. Like, she's a female athlete. She obviously has this every month, and you have cramps and all. So to go through that and then put up that performance and win a medal, that's a huge thing. And if it goes unreported, you're not showing the whole picture, and then you're just showing ki haan theek hai, she's so like a machine, ho to hamesha training mein karti hai nahi. Everyone is allowed to have good days and bad. It was her bad day, but she had the strength in her, the courage in her. It was a willpower that she was able to do it, and to write about such things is really nice. And now we see so many athletes coming up and they're celebrated. Like pehle boxing mein you only had someone like Mary Kom, जिसका नाम बोला जा रहा था. But this time it was so great. You have Nikhat Zareen, who's like been there, and she's not afraid to showcase her personality, how nice and spirited she is, and all of that. So it's nice when people are celebrated like that. Even our women's cricket team, I really enjoy it as a woman also, and as a viewer also. I like reading their stories and what their thing has been, because you speak to all. I cover boxing and I speak to all these boxers, and they're when you talk to them, they're most of them they're like, oh, हमारे parents नहीं चाहते थे कि हम बने athlete, क्योंकि मुक्का पड़ जाएगा तो face में bruise आ जाएगा, no one will marry us. That used to be like the main reason why parents did not want them to do boxing. But now that's changing, because they've seen like a Mary Kom and a Nikhat Zareen do great things, and they also want to do that. So that way, the landscape's changed immensely, and it's brilliant actually. I hope it continues like that, and there's no full stop there. It just continues to prosper like that.
How have you seen yourself change over the years? You've evolved. You are, no more that fresher, nervous fresher who joined PTI. Now you're a known journalist. So how do you see yourself now? How do you look at things? Because अब वो भी नहीं है ना कि एक जो वो hesitancy होती है, एक शुरू में we tend to overlook things, या we tend to be very naive covering things, and we do not really see the reality of people. But over the years, while talking to so many people, you get to see them for who they really are. So, as a journalist, how has that helped you?
That has helped. Like, the experiences have been great, and every experience teaches you something. When people are pitching stories to you, when PR people are pitching stories to you, what is a genuine story, what is like just PR for the sake of it, wala. You get to talk to so many athletes, their experience and all. So I've been brought up in a certain way, right? And when you talk to them, you get a perspective on life, not just your career, but general life and how it is and how people, because India is so vast. There are people coming from South India, Kerala se aa rahe honge, or like someone like who's probably doing wushu, or they're doing something like pensaxil art in Jammu and Kashmir. So their experience is very different, and that helps you a lot. And as a reporter also, yes, I've learned a lot of things. I'm not naive anymore. I feel like news angles, points and all, obviously with time you get to know all of that. And it's been nice. It's been a good journey till now. And abhi to I still feel that there's still so much to learn. So yeah, it's been good. Apart from like an incident or two, it's been really nice.
Rajta, what role do you think journalists can play to make sure that we are talking more about women's sports? Women football, for instance, gets more coverage, is talked about more. Of journalists can play that role. They have a lot of credit needs to be given to journalists for fighting with their publishers or with their agencies for that matter to get that space for the athlete or the sport that they're really invested in. So now going forward in the future, how do you think we can do better?
We just have to be at it. Like, I know in newspapers and all, it's very difficult to get space. But being in an agency, we try to tell all these stories. We want people to read about them because for us, maybe if you read it or I read it, it's just a story. But for that person, it's a huge thing. They're getting the recognition, and everyone should get that sort of recognition because there's so many sports that people are playing. It's not just about cricket in India. Even sometimes I see like these daily papers and all. I was appalled to see like the women's cricket team was not getting spaces very recently, and they had a match. And so we have to keep on writing about it. We need the stories out there, every website and all. We have to put it out there so that people are reading about it and they know. And then there's so many other people who read that and then they get motivated to get into these sports. And it's a cycle. It should not be like, oh, medal मिल गया तभी पढ़ते हैं इनके बारे में. It should not be like that. We should have them from their junior levels or youth levels. We should give them that area and the space that they want. So in that sense, journalism is very important because we are the ones who are going there. We are writing the story. We have that power to talk to them, take out information, write about them, and not just like it's very prevalent in India where we just write about their garibi. Ki, oh, she came from this. So it's much more. It's not just that. They have other stories also to tell. Like your family's financial condition is not the only thing. So as journalists, I feel, and as to talk about all of these things and women sports persons more because then they'll get motivated and then they'll join the sports and they'll get laurels for the country. So it's a good thing and we must continue writing. That's all I can say. That we have to highlight them.
Back in the day, there were not as many sports news platforms that there are today. A lot of people still struggle to find that space, emerging journalists. You have, like successfully transitioned from a trainee to a sports journalist. You've seen the struggles from Greater Noida to, traveling to CP almost every day. You've worked hard to be where you are today. So if you could give a message to all the aspiring journalists out there who are looking to make a career in the world of sports journalism?
See, aspiring journalists, all these young kids, I call them young kids now, they're very confident. So that's a really good thing. They know, they believe in themselves. I think a lot of us, we had a discussion about this also, that we weren't that confident when we got into all of this. So that's where you start from and just be at it. If you want to do this, you have to struggle a little, you have to compromise a little, but it will help you. There'll be experiences maybe. So when I joined, I was earning 7,000 a month. So it's very little. And my colleagues, they like all my classmates, they had like 24,000, 30,000 ka package per month and all. And here I am earning 7 grand. So, but if this is what you want to do, if you want to go the distance, you have to struggle a little. You have to face all the difficulties, and then I'm sure it'll pay you back. And you learn and don't just go with the flow as in कि कुछ भी लिख रहे हैं वो नहीं. Try and do a good job. Try and probe all the angles and everything. Don't do one-sided stuff. If your story is well-rounded, well-researched, I'm sure you'll get the appreciation and you'll prosper in your workplace as well, and you'll get more opportunities because people get opportunities. You can be starting from a website or a paper which does not have a lot of readership, and but there are editors and all who are following it. They will see your work and you will get your due once you've done a good job. So yeah, just continue and be at it.
Thank you so much, Aparajita, for speaking with us today. It was a pleasure, and let's
Thank
reconnect.
you so much.